Welcome back to another Strictly Business podcast. I'm your host, Josh Grodzen. Today we are very excited to have three guests in the studio. We have John Eggert of Relish Catering, Jeff Williams, and Nick Radcliffe. Nick is a new addition to the Village's economic development team. Thanks for coming, guys.
Hi, Josh. Thanks for having us.
Thank you.
Today we're going to talk about something we've talked about before, the NlNW Northwest Business Accelerator Program. Just as a reminder, it is a program that was created by Elk Grove Village, Village of Schaumburg, Hoffman Estates, Hanover Park, and Rolling Meadows. It was a collaborative effort. We created our own not-for-profit business accelerator program where we offer free business coaching to qualifying businesses. And Relish Catering, along with owner John Eggert here, was our second business to go through the program. So thank you for doing that.
Yeah, pleasure to be here.
So let's get started and talk a little bit about what attracted you to the program.
Matt Frank over at the Schaumburg Village Hall got in touch with me, and he said, this program seems like it would be perfect for you. It was basically just a program for established businesses to kind of help them grow to get to the next level, just like the name says. I kind of looked over the details, and it just really seemed like too good to be true. Basically free business coaching, getting advice from, people who have established themselves in the area, working on making sure that you have a couple of goals, getting those all worked out. Having follow-up and kind of accountability for a growth program, it all was very attractive.
Tell us a little bit about the history of Relish Catering and why at this point were you looking for some outside assistance through an organization like NlNW Northwest?
Yeah, so I started Relish Catering Kitchen in June of 2013, just me and one other employee. I have been in the catering business for about 12, 13 years at that point, and just wanted to kind of branch out on my own. I hadn't seen a lot of, caterers who did from scratch catering, so I kind of felt like that was my niche, what I wanted to go after. So, we just started off, me and one other person. We had a kitchen and an office, and it just basically kind of grew from there. We went from 2 to 4 to 6 to 8. All the way now, we're up to about 18 employees. We're going to be doing some hiring for the summer, probably hiring another 4 people for the summer. And when you start a business, it's you never know where it's going to go. It can, you never. Sometimes it's hard to kind of take a step back and look at where the business needs to go. And I got this opportunity with NlNW Northwest to kind of get some outsider's perspective and just kind of see where, what I was missing, maybe some, opportunities I could look over and just see where I needed to improve the business in order to grow. And
the program is unique because when you applied with Schaumburg to be in the program, you had to go through a pitch night where you pitched your business and what you were looking for in assistance-wise to a panel of experts in business, I assume from Schaumburg, and then you won that pitch night, and you were matched subsequently with a business coach expert, Jeff Williams, who's sitting to your left. Jeff, how did you approach the program? Because this is our second company to go through the program, your first opportunity to actually work with a business in the program. What were your takeaways and working with Relish in particular?
Well, let me just preface this for a minute. I've lived in Arlington Heights now for about 30 years and have run my own business for about the same period of time. I kept bugging the chambers around here to try to do something like this starting 7 or 8 years ago. And it just never seemed to be right. There was always another imperative. We put all these condos in downtown Arlington Heights, and that was a big development thing. So anyway, I heard about this from Ray Benedetto, who really created the system that we use, because you have to have a system of accountability. And I've known Ray probably for 15 years or so, and he was kind enough to approach me 2 years ago and say, Jeff, we think it's going to happen now. Well, I had to step up. And I had to put my time where my mouth was because I had been bugging these people for some years to do it. And I was told that we would start with Elk Grove, and then we would roll out each month, starting almost 2 years, a year and a half ago now, each month there would be a new village would come online, there'd be a new pitch night, and we would move forward on that. So we initially recruited 5 coaches. We all have very diverse experience. I'm a marketing guy primarily, so I'm the guy who's always thinking of how do we promote. We have other coaches that are more financial experts. We have one coach, Sybil Eggy, who worked with the Elk Grove client,
Right.
whose background is in food development. She runs a food incubator out in Kane County. So we have a really diverse group. We were very fortunate to be able to get these people at this point in their career. Several of them were semi-retired and kind of came out to do this. Me, I still do it full time. So when I heard about this, I thought, boy, this is going to be great. And I was so excited to go to the pitch night and hear John present. He is a natural in explaining the reason and mission behind his business. So very excited to be involved. Mm-hmm. And I was the second in line to work on this. Sybil got the first consulting job. I got the second one. So that's kind of how it happened.
And how did you find the process? Was it a smooth process as far as, tell us a little bit about the coaching experience. I think it's a 12-week program, and you have a kind of a period at the beginning where you just kind of get to know each other, and then you start digging in on real issues. Is that how it rolled out with you?
Well, the first stage is the discovery stage. Mm-hmm. And there are certain questions that need to be asked of the client and answered. And this all really started from the pitch night. John was asked to identify his 3 biggest pain points during the pitch night. And as I recall, they were basically having a more efficient selling process, mm-hmm. number 1. Number 2 was to recruit more effectively. And number 3 was to seriously look at having a second location for the company in some undisclosed time period at that point in time. So John revealed this during the pitch. And when we started, we sat down and for a 30-day period, I think this started in October of last year, for about a month, we met every week and we said, okay, what does this mean? What does this selling more effectively mean? And we got a lot of things down. We talked to some staff. We got a pretty good idea on that. And then we ran into a little bit of snafu. And that was the process was set up to move pretty much linear. Do this in this 30 days, do this in the second 30 days, do this in the third 30 days. Well, it didn't take into consideration of the scheduling requirements of the client. Mm-hmm. And in John's case, he was virtually out of pocket the whole month of December because he makes a ton of money.
That's a good thing.
And there's no way that any smart coach is going to go to John and say, hey, take some time away from making money so we can talk about the future. So we had to adjust on the fly the process because the board had a certain expectation. There was another expectation in the real world, but we worked it out.
The flexibility of the program worked in your favor then?
Yeah, I mean, that was one of my kind of what I was thinking of as limitations would be getting into it would be that it was going to be inflexible. But yeah, I mean, Jeff worked it out with me, and he worked it out on his end with mm-hmm. the Northwest board, mm-hmm. and it all worked out. It was, we still were able to talk a few times in December. But, I mean, basically I'm working like 70, 80-hour weeks that week. So it's a little tough to think about, long-term goals and things like that during that point.
Yeah, and even to dovetail off that a little bit, John, did you have any, concerns going into the program, and were those relieved throughout the program?
Yeah, it almost, like I said, it almost seemed too good to be true at first. It was like free help, from, your municipality. So I just wanted to make sure, I met all the obligations of the program. There wasn't anything, that I was missing or something I needed to, do or anything like that. So I made sure, I met all the requirements and that everything was taken care of. One of my, trepidations was that, I'm giving out all of my information, my private information to a public, entity. But, Jeff and the board were very good about explaining, how everything was kept confidential. And, there was going to be certain things that were reported out on. But, for the most part, all my, hard numbers and things like that would be kept, confidential between me and Jeff.
Yeah, because Next Level Northwest, it's a private, not-for-profit organization that the Five Villages created. It's taken out of the public realm somewhat. So when Matt and myself and the other people in the other communities, we promote the program, but when a business applies, we kind of step back and let the coach and the business work together, and we're kind of out of it. I think that's really the important thing for people to know.
Yeah, and I mean, I think me and Jeff developed, a great relationship that way, and I would totally agree with your statement. You guys just kind of, let the coach and the business owner do their thing, and we just report, a couple of times just to make sure everything's going smooth. So, yeah.
What about your time commitment? I know I talk to businesses all the time, and they're busy. Obviously, as you just mentioned, you're quite busy. You have to run your business and do those things. But what kind of time commitment was it? Was it more than you expected, less than you expected?
I would say, maybe just slightly more than I was expecting, but not by much. I kind of looked at it as, something that was necessary to do, taking a step back and looking at the larger picture of the business, was something I thought was necessary. So I tried to make time for it, and I, ended up making, hard deadlines and things like that for myself. And Jeff, kept me accountable on deadlines, and, it was worth my time. I feel like, in the end, to just kind of take a little, a few hours a week, just to kind of look at a couple of projects, knock some, tasks out, and, in the end, it made my business stronger. So,
Jeff, what were your expectations going into the program and working with the business? What's your expectations and your coaching style working with Relish? Did you have specific goals for him to meet, or was it more just let's talk and figure some things out? How structured was the process for you?
Pretty orderly, as far as not trying to address too many things at one time, because that can be overwhelming to the client. We kind of worked out a time frame of 4 or 5 things we really wanted to look at. And I went to him and said, okay, how long do you think it'll take internally to do this? Because one of the ways we were able to use John's time really effectively is that I've built a pretty strong network of support people behind my coaching practice. And John and I would say, okay, here's the strategic goal. And then we'd say, okay, now what operational tasks do we need to complete to make this goal happen? Well, that pretty much fell on me. I would go to my team, or I would go to outside vendors, and I'd say, okay, here's what we need, and I need it in this time frame. John could then go on, running the business, knowing that we were paralleling him in getting this done. I think my number one concern before we got into the program was there was just seemed like a ton of paperwork. I mean, Ray was very, very thorough. You have to remember that Sybil and I spent a year and a half before we ever got a client sitting there. I mean, like every 4 or 5 weeks, we're having a meeting with Ray at the Next Level offices over in Hoffman, talking about process. I mean, right down to what evaluative tools will we use, how important would they be? And I thought to myself, boy, we got to be careful here. We're going to over-codify this process and under-humanize this process, and that doesn't work. So fortunately, the board gave us the latitude to say, okay, we need you to come to us in 30 days and report on the following things. You get there. This is what we want to know. You get there. And I thought that was great, because what they could have said is, we want Form 27A on this date, we want Form 27B on this date. They never did that. They just said, in 30 days, we need to see these performance criteria explained. And we were able to do that.
Yeah, it's a very well-structured program, and I think that's the main reason why the 2 companies that have gone through it have had success, because we didn't launch this without knowing exactly how we were going to run it, because it's a big responsibility to go out to a business community and say, hey, open up your business to us and we'll help you. Sometimes businesses are like, help me with what? You're the government. You're here to help me. That's why we have these professional coaches. But what I found interesting, even talking with the Elk Grove company, even from the very beginning, just putting together the PowerPoint pitch for pitch night, he found extremely valuable, because it allowed him to take a step back and look at his business in a way he didn't look at it before. Was that your experience as well?
Oh yeah, I would definitely agree with that. I mean, even going into the pitch night, I was a little nervous. You're presenting in front of people who are have your fate in your hands. But before I went up, I was like, it was good that I put all this information together. I got it all structured into one documents, so even if I don't get it, I can kind of, work on a couple of these things myself. And yeah, it was, just going through this whole process has just been great to kind of take a step back and look at, the business from, almost like an outside perspective.
Right. Yeah, you're used to people eating your food and critiquing it, but you don't have to talk in front of them.
Right, yeah, exactly.
A little different environment. So what would you say to a business that's thinking about applying to this program? Would you encourage them to do it?
I would. I think it's a great opportunity that the program presents itself. It's just invaluable to kind of have. Like I said, just from the very beginning, just kind of take a step back and analyze your business, get outsiders' perspectives, and go through the whole coaching process. It's just been, I think, invaluable to me. It's been a really great experience. I would recommend anybody, who has a business that's established, to apply, just because, like we just said, it's, just getting through the application process helps you, kind of look at where you could be improving, what you could be doing better. And, as long as you have a couple hours a week, to go through the program, it's really not that much of a time commitment either.
Yeah, without giving us, we don't want you to tell us too much about your business. It's your business, but can you give us some idea of the tangible outcomes? More revenue? Did you hire people? Are you expanding? Jeff alluded to that in the, as we were doing introductions. Are those things really happening?
Yeah. Just kind of looking. We started implementing some of these things back in January. We've already seen about 20% growth in sales over in the first quarter versus last year. Profits were up about 15% over last year this time as well. And yeah, we hired a couple more people, so the retention is there. We're implementing some of our onboarding processes, and I feel like our team has been very cohesive. Everyone's been kind of chipping in and helping new people come aboard, which has been helpful. It just things are moving and they're going in the right direction, and I think a lot of it has to do with the program.
That's great. Jeff, give us kind of a peek behind the curtain here. What was one thing that you noticed that you needed to work on? Was there one specific element that you saw immediately, like, this is something we can fix easily and it's going to have a positive effect that you might have missed?
I would say it's the public profile of Relish as a business, not so much as a catering supplier.
Yeah.
In the whole constellation of small businesses in Chicago, I just didn't think that John was getting his due in the marketplace.
Yeah.
And this is understandable because he's very operationally oriented.
Yeah.
We have a catering event for 150 people next week. This is what's going to be on the menu. We got to have these number of servers. That's how you grow this business. But John was an absolute joy to work with, and I'll tell you why. And I think that the Next Level board has to take us into consideration as they move forward here. And that is not just every small business is going to be a good candidate. John exhibited three things I think you have to look for. Number one, he truly understands all his processes. I never asked John an operational question he couldn't answer. Whether it be profit margin, whether it be turnover figures, whether it would be places that he thought he could cut cost, he knew all that. So he didn't get overwhelmed from the day-to-day. Some business owners, they get so overwhelmed in the selling and delivery process, they're never thinking strategically. And I don't think they'd be as good a candidate for this program as someone like John. Number two, John is truly loved by his staff.
It's good to be loved.
Okay?
I'm glad an outsider said that.
They really groove working with John, and they're very proud of the fact they're delivering high-quality, healthy food.
Yeah.
In group settings. Because, it's just imagine 250 dinners you have to serve, and every one was made from scratch. Maybe there was 3 different menu items and 3 or 4 sides. Everything had to be made from scratch. They use, virtually no frozen ingredients or none. And they don't use additives. They don't use flavor enhancers, which some people do. I went to a catered event about 6 weeks ago, and I'm very allergic to preservatives. I got such a headache. I knew they put food enhancers and something in that food.
Interesting.
So number 2 is the fact that if you have a cultural problem inside your company, and you really haven't been honest about it, it's probably going to be a real slog to take you on as a client, because we're probably going to spend 90 days, the 90-day time, just trying to work that out. we're really not going to be able to move ahead strategically. And the third thing is you got to be willing to be coached. It's an ego thing. It's, you know, you have to be able to say, other people are smart, other people have experience, I can benefit from. And not every business owner thinks this way. They're thinking, you know, I've grown $1 million business over the last 8 years. Who can tell me anything? And that's something I think we need to look for those three things when we have candidates. There's a lot of them around. A lot of companies have fit all those three. So I don't think we have any lack of a population we can recruit from. But I do think we need to be realistic about those things before we recruit somebody.
I'm hungry. I'm getting hungry talking about all this food.
I'm realizing now I should have brought you guys something.
Yeah, where's the cookies? But that's a great point. And I've noticed this with the Elk Grove business, Rada Auto, Tom from Rada, and as you said, you know, John here.
Yep.
They both are coachable, and that's the key element. I think is that you have to be open to being coached. You can pitch your business and have a great business, but if you're not open to being coached and taking advice and acting on it, maybe it's not a great program for you. So obviously, you know, Jeff speaks very highly of you, so you've definitely fit the exact profile for Next Level Northwest.
Yeah, I mean,
You might not even you didn't even know that maybe.
I mean, I did have to take a couple of tests, like you know, emotional intelligence tests, and it was like a coachability like type of test, you know. So it kind of makes you like look at those, you know, traits to make sure you have them. Which I mean, I kind of felt like I did, but you know, you never know. Like you have an outsider come into your business, you know, do you trust this person? What do they know? You know, it's. You know, but I trusted the process, and I knew that they, you know, Northwest would give me, you know, a coach that would understand.
Yeah, it's good. It's good to get validation from a third party. From
Yeah,
someone else.
definitely.
That's great. So you know, if you have a business in Elk Grove Village, in Schaumburg, in Hoffman Estates, in Rolling Meadows, or Hanover Park, we are taking applications right now. I know that. This summer, we're going to be having a couple more pitch nights in Hoffman Estates in Hanover Park. Hopefully, they're wrapping things up with potential businesses. Elk Grove is looking to do another one in the fall, in Schaumburg as well. So our goal is to get more businesses in the program now that we have built this foundation. We have great testimonials from yourself and our other candidate, Rada Auto. I don't know if there's anything we've missed or you guys want to cover or any other questions we have, but I think we talked quite a bit about the program, the process, your business, your coaching style. Is there anything else we didn't cover that you want to mention?
Not that
What a
I
great
can
host
think
I
of.
am.
Yeah,
How
it's
great
been a
Nick
great
is.
experience, very professional.
Well, I'll tell you, I would make one suggestion for a slight tweak in the process. We required the candidates to go through 4 different evaluative
Right.
quizzes. There's one of them which really measures the entrepreneurial IQ of the client. I would strongly urge that this be applied to anyone who's applying before they make their presentation.
Good idea.
If they won't do it, then we probably should disqualify them. If they do it and we say, there's something here, you're a good manager, but you're not necessarily, because I will tell you, I think the people who are going to do best in this program are people who are entrepreneurs at heart and soul.
Right.
And not every business owner is. You know, there used to be a book called The Entrepreneurial Myth that talked about every successful business, really successful businesses, the owners have 3 parts. They're an administrator, they're a conceptualizer, and they're an entrepreneur. You don't find that in everybody. John happens to have it. I mean, John has been involved in cooking since he was, 7 years old?
That's right.
This is not something that, you know, he was in college bumming around trying to figure out what do I major in. And somebody said, hey, there's this job open as a cook over at the fast food place. Let's try it out. John's been focused on this most of his adult life.
Yeah. It's his passion.
And that's what we're trying to find. We need to find business owners who started the business out of passion, not just because it was a money producer.
Right.
Because I think we'll do a lot better with them in this program.
Yeah. Absolutely. And I've had your food. It was delicious.
Thank you. Thank you.
It was very good. Well, if you are interested in applying to be a business in the Next Level Northwest program, you can go to nextlevelnorthwest.org and get all the information. Our application is online there. My contact information, as well as the other contact information for the other villages if you have any follow-up questions. But we are actively taking applications, and we have a ringing endorsement right here. So hopefully we'll get more applicants and more businesses accelerated in the suburbs of Chicago here.
That would be great.
Thanks for joining us, guys.
Thank you, Josh.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.